morning, friends. I'm back to tell you more about my adventures in mask making and some tips and tricks that I've picked up along the way. This morning we're listening to Tibetan music by the Yellow Brick Cinema channel on YouTube, in case you can hear it. I've heard some folks like the flutes in the last video, so hey, I'll do it again. Anybody using a serger and you're having problems with your loops not looking real pretty, let me know and I will send you a scanned copy of the page of how to fix the dials on your tensioning machine, because different types of material will behave differently when you send it through the machine. Sometimes there's some really light stuff that it's, you know, you're gonna have to use some flannel on. Like, there's this crazy fabric that you can't see through it, but it's pretty light. And I debated against using this to make masks, but then I raided my mother-in-law's stash and found a couple of chunks of flannel. And the flannel's kind of heavy, so it's like, heavy fabric, light fabric, and they match. What kind of karma is that? Awesome, I think. I would believe, yes. So, when I'm sending those two different fabrics through the machine, the tensions of the loops are going to change and you're going to need to adjust some of them dials in order to get it to do it right again. So if you're having trouble and you don't have your manual, they all basically work the same way, just the different brands have different levers, but the tensions should, you know, where the cones are and what the tensions should be is fairly generic. So I have instructions for the three. If you're using one needle and two, just let me know. Next thing, the mask pattern that I'm using. I believe I had a link to this one on one of my videos, and this is a 3rd edition of this mask. And it's different than the one I originally printed out. On this one, they added this thing that says, "Note, please cut mask patterns larger than shown." And I was like, really? Well, I did not cut mine larger than shown. When I got them, they didn't have that on there. So, but the piece size, this outer rim did not change. All they did was stick this on there, and I'm not sure why. They also told you different directions on what size to print in order to get large and medium, but I've actually just been using these cardboards that I made from this original pattern, and I'm just cutting them all out the same size, and from the feedback that I've been getting, they all fit fairly well. I haven't heard any complaints, but you know, maybe they're just being nice. Anyway, I did get one bit of feedback too that's also very important. Hospice nurse lives across the street from me, lovely lady, and she and her co-workers said that they would appreciate a 3rd layer of fabric inside their masks. And yeah, you can totally do that. You just got to cut out twice as many pieces. And I also made a big mistake when I was trying to serge them all together. I was trying to be clever and see if I could get them all serged together, but I made a mistake and I've got to rip out some serging. Not too much, thank goodness. I still have more that I didn't mess up over there and plenty more cut out to practice. But anyway, the big thing that I really wanted to talk to you about today is the ironing board is really kind of your best friend when you're working on a project like this, when you're cutting out a lot of these little small pieces. Some of my sewing friends, or even maybe you people that don't sew are seeing this cutting board and being like, oh yeah, she can totally cut out so many of those masks because she's got that cutting board. And it's like, nah, this cutting board really, for this type of project, you don't need that. You don't. Because when you use the ironing board ahead of time, you can get away with just something this big, because that's the biggest piece you're going to cut. So you don't need a bigger surface to lean on top of. And to tell you the truth, I actually kind of like this self-healing cutting mat better than this one, because this one scores quite easily, and especially when you're trying to go through 16 layers of fabric with your new rotary cutter. Oh my goodness, my shoulder is a little tired today because I cut out all those pieces yesterday. But yeah, all you need is, this is 10, 11 by 8. So it gives you that's all the surface you really need. Back to the ironing board being your best friend. Yes. I hope I'm actually recording all of this. There's no light on the top of my camera. So, well, I'm gonna just check to see if the camera's rolling while the iron heats up, and just, yeah, I just need to step on a chair and look and make sure that it's counting. Is it counting? Yeah, it's counting. How much time have I been blathering? Almost 7 minutes already, and I'm just getting to the important stuff. Okay, so sometimes you're working with weird little pieces of fabric that people give you, and I'm using this bit of white to make the extra third layer of mouthpieces for a bunch of the masks that are here. So what you gotta do is get it out and fold it in the longest way that you can, and then keep the side that is loose so that you can see it where it overlaps. Just gonna move those out of the way for a second. Iron your fold. Start with the fold. This one worked out well because there was a bit of selvage on the sides, so that I can actually see that those are the nice finished edges of the fabric. I hope you all can see me. Okay. Ironing your fabric is really nice because it makes it lay nice and flat, and it doesn't move around too much. Ironing kills germs. It also heats up the house when you're running the air conditioner because it's April and it's already getting to be 95 degrees outside in Florida. So, but aside from that, okay, so there we go. We got some iron. And now we're gonna pick it up. And along that nice fold, we're gonna bring the two selvages together, so that they're nice and tidy and neat and lined up. Okay, now here's where it starts to get important to be careful when you're ironing, because I don't know if you can see it, but when I'm grabbing it, it makes a little bit of a wrinkle. So, I'm gonna put that fold down. Sometimes you can smooth it out with your fingers, and sometimes you know, when it starts to be more layers being folded, you'll start feeling the wrinkles a little bit more. This one feels pretty flat, but to make sure it's nice and flat, grab any ruler that you have that's long enough to go down. And I really like this one. I just found out that it's the exact same size as the cheek pieces, so it's going to be a lot easier for me to cut those out in the future, I hope. Or at least to iron. So anyway, you take your straight edge, and to fix the wrinkle that's in this crease, just grab it and pull it tight and run your finger down, and that'll make a nice crease. And since you folded it, now you can see some more of the wrinkly bits. And here, this side's a little wrinkled. Got some extra over here. Ironing it kind of gives a little bit of the body back to the fabric. So when you're pinning, it actually makes pinning and sewing a lot easier because all the fibers are like, oh, aren't we nice and organized and tidy? All right, where's my next fold gonna be? I think I'm gonna go this way. Doesn't really matter at this point because it's still, well, now I'm getting the wrinkles. You might actually be able to see it. Can you see them? Can you see those wrinkles? They're horrible. Let's see. Yeah, you can see them. See that whole twist right there and how messy that is? Grab your lightsaber. If somebody could add lightsaber noise when I do this, that would be awesome. Get it in the fold. Oh, and when you're doing this, when you do the fold, up here is where the fold, the previous fold should be, and always pull your sword down to where the fabric is loose because we're going to trim a lot of this off and cut some more pieces out of that chunk. You'd be surprised how many pieces you can get out of a sheet sometimes. There we go. Oh, didn't quite do it all the way. Nice and tight. Oh, here's another reason why this thing is helpful. To get all this stuff off that we're going to we're going to work with later, you can slide it underneath the fabric. And now you have a hard surface on your ironing board and you don't have to worry about your fancy scissors catching on your ironing board and accidentally clipping through your ironing board. So yeah, now I can... Garbage cans underneath the table. I've got one over there, I've got one over there, I've got one over there. I've actually got 3 trash cans underneath this table. So there we go. And some art supplies. Yeah, put that in the kids' pile, maybe if I could probably cut some kids' stuff out of that. Yeah, see? Look. 2 more. 2 more right in that little piece. Okay, so we're getting a little small here. Let's see, what can we do? What can we do? That looks good. You can get like that. I can just fold this in half. How sweet is that? See the folds? They're forming. Acceptable losses. Perfect. I love it. Oh, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's a scrappy scrap, isn't it? Yeah. So I want to cut out some more mouthpieces. There might be enough in this stack to replace some of the ones that, you know, to fill these. None of these green ones have any yet. I don't need to do a third layer on these felt ones because that felt is pretty thick, I think. And yeah. Oh, in case you're curious about these kinds of things, I was cutting out these cheek pieces yesterday because I found that one and I was like, yes, oh yeah, I have one that can go with all of those. And I used a queen size sheet. I have no idea what the original dimensions were. It was from Target. It had the little Target logo on it, and I believe it said home. And I cut off half of the sheet, and I was able to cut out 64 sets of cheek pieces. That's 128 pieces. So 128 of these pieces out of half of a queen sheet. So one queen sheet would yield 128 sets of cheek pieces. So there's some math for you. And this piece and this piece are kind of the same. They're, you know, it's like basically the same as both of these put together. So I imagine if one wanted to venture an educated guess as to how many masks that you can make out of 3 queen sheets, I would easily venture to guess to say 125. Somewhere between 100 and 125, depending on how good you are at folding your fabric and ironing it so that you can cut it on a tiny little board. Oh, I should probably turn off the iron while I do that because I don't need to have the iron on right now because I'm not ironing. What did I do with them? Here they are. So yeah, you don't need a humongous cutting mat. All you need is a little cutting mat. And to open your cutter. See, I'm just moving the whole board. It's actually kind of more convenient than using the big one because I can't move the big one. See? There we go, mouthpieces. These were leftover little scrippity scraps and I got 3 out of that one. And yeah, it looks like there's enough space to get 2 more because there was one that was a little short. Have fun, everybody. Keep making those masks. People need them. People want them. They're actually pretty fun to wear. I think. See you next time.